might be, and I say this without hyperbole, I hope, this might be the most important thing you hear this entire year. It might be the most important thing you hear in this decade. It depends on you, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So this is breath mastery. And first of all, thank you, because, hey, I know right now, wherever you are in the world, there are so many things that you could be doing in this moment, and you've chosen to invest this time and allow me to share with you. I appreciate that. Even more, though, thank you for investing in yourself, in your life, in your breath. And now I know you didn't spend any cash dollars for this, so here's my promise, is that I will deliver for you in the next 60 minutes more value than if you had paid $2,000 for this event. I know that's like Ring It or Bot or something there, but I didn't find a $2,000 bill. Go figure, right? So that's my promise to you. And part of how I know that I can do that is if you hang with me, if you pay attention. And I got a big question for you in a little bit, but and it depends on your answer. But check out what Donna Farhi said about breathing. Breathing affects your respiratory, cardiovascular, neurological, gastrointestinal, muscular, and psychic systems, and also has a general effect on your sleep, memory, ability to concentrate, and your energy levels. Covers a lot of ground, yeah? And she has not talked about the emotional or the spiritual levels, which are, to me, maybe the biggest aspects of it. And we will talk about those things. In short, one thing we can say is you probably know it already, right? This finger is to say, you know, well, let me ask you, how many of you know already that there's power in the breath and that you could be breathing and getting more out of your breath? You could be breathing at a higher level and you can get more out of your breath. If you got that feeling, if you have that sense, would you please type a yes or a yeah or a yep into the chat box? Yes. Yeah, you know, we all know it, right? It's like it's wired into us. And that I'm not one to point fingers myself, and that's not my finger, so it's pointing at you. I guarantee you that 99% of you, myself included, are breathing below our capacity, right? Most people, believe this, are breathing at like 1/5, 1/4, maybe a third of their breath capacity. And it's fascinating, the causes for that, the reasons for that, which will be a conversation for another time. But here's the, and hopefully you're not where I was for the first quarter century of my life, which was actually suffering from asthma, right? Now, here's the big promise that I have for you is if you stay with me through the next 58 minutes here, I will share with you information that guaranteed will change your life. It will never be the same, and your breath will never be the same. It'll be better, in fact. However, it does depend on you. So are you willing to make this commitment to me, more importantly to yourself, that you will not just take this on as entertainment and information, that you will apply at least one thing from what I share with you into your life? Would you make that commitment? If so, say yes, for sure, that you'll apply at least one thing into your life. Awesome. Thank you, Reginald. Right. And it's so important because here's the thing, y'all, we know this. Y'all wouldn't be here if you didn't already have a mindset of growth and a movement toward mastery in your life. It doesn't happen no matter how good I might be at sharing information with you. For none of us are we going to get everything we need. The road to mastery and to a vibrant, thriving life, it's ongoing. Right? This is one step. So I want you to know that you're going to take more steps after this in whatever way you do it, with me, with someone else, on your own. So before we get into the juicy juice of what's happening in this presentation, I'll share with you a few things that I have seen trip people up and get in their way. One, and you may or may not relate to any or all of these, I have experienced them all in my life. One is the idea that I don't have enough time for this, right? I don't have enough time. And this is a funny one because we're talking specifically about breath. Check this out. Are you ready for a miracle right now? If you're ready for a miracle, do this. Take a big breath in. And then exhale it out. Why is that a miracle? Because, check it out, you could go your entire life without consciously, intentionally, deliberately breathing. Like you could ignore your breath your entire life, or you could at any point say, I'm going to do it intentionally. That, y'all, is a phenomenal, miraculous thing. And here's the thing. I'm going to share some things with you that will take a little bit of time. And, you know, we're together today for an hour. And tomorrow, I bet you will be breathing. And the next day, probably the same thing. You'll be breathing. So if you improve the quality of your breath, it's not necessarily going to take you any more time. As well, something that trips us all up oftentimes is like, oh, I would love to do that, but it's expensive. I don't have the money for it, right? Really cool thing about breathing, you may know, there's no charge for the breath. So far, it's unregulated by the government. One of my favorite things about breath is once we get empowered with upping the quality of our breath, we don't have to pay for that. We have that built into us for our whole lives. We're at a cool day and age with breath work. When I started out into breath work almost 30 years ago, it was kind of fringe. You know, it was before Wim Hof. There wasn't much talk about it. Now there's so much. There's so many different styles and approaches to it, right? You know, which door do I go through? I will demystify and clarify for you, make it really simple and applicable. And bottom line, any conscious breathing is helpful for you, guaranteed of that. Another stumbling block happens often is we get somehow this belief that, well, I got to be super advanced. I got to be a fancy yogi or yogini. I got to sit in the Himalayas. I got to be like Wim Hof and get into ice baths. You don't have to do any of that. You know, what you have to do to get this is be willing and committed. And a lot of you I know already committed to that. So, and here's one of my favorite examples. This woman, Kara, she did a breathing program with me a few years ago, and she had mixed feelings about starting because she'd had a bad car accident a while back. Not only was she scared to drive, like avoided the car, she was scared to be conscious about her breath because she didn't want to feel what she had built up from that PTSD. And such a cool experience that she, in a few days' time, with a little bit of deliberate practice, not only shifted her breath, but she shifted her entire past and future through that. So you got the big promise. Your life will be changed, and that's just the tip of the iceberg here. We've looked at some of the things that could tend to trip you up. And what this session is all about today is giving you inspiration and information that, if you apply it, will change your life. So here's what we will do if y'all are up for it. This is our agenda. Who is this for? Well, let's answer that right now. It's not for everybody. It's only for people that are alive and have lungs. That's it. Okay, moving on. Why you might want to listen to me about this. I'll share just a tiny bit of my story with breath and why I might have something value to share with you about it. The bulk of what we'll talk about today is why does breath matter? Why is it so important? And we'll look at that on the physical, emotional, and spiritual levels. And then brass tacks with this is number 4 on the agenda. Well, what does it look like to breathe consciously? How do I take this idea of breath and apply it in an ongoing way in my life? And then toward the end, I will share with you a program that I've put together. If you're up for that, I hope you stay for that. Whether you join the program or not, totally up to you. I've made it affordable so that it should be within reach for everybody. So if you want my help, I'll share with you how that will go. I'm really excited about it. I've been working with breath for 28 years, And this is, it's the best thing I've ever put together. So I'm excited about it. And then after that, we will look at questions. So whatever questions you have, I'm happy to respond to them. So does that sound good or super fantastic? Okay, awesome. Excellent, super fantastic. Thank you very much. So here's what happened. I'm going to share with you two things about why I might have some qualifications for you about breath. One thing is that I talk about often when I'm on shows, podcasts, summits, interviews. The other I almost never talk about, though I will with you because it's so directly relevant here. Back in 1995, I experienced what you could call a spiritual awakening. I felt like a lightning rod for God. Completely changed my life. It was an amazing experience. I tasted oneness, human potential. It was phenomenal. That also led me to realizing, oh, I didn't understand what happened. I didn't know how to speak about it. I didn't know how to live it. My old life was destroyed in a moment. So how do I live that? When my feet came back down to the ground, I realized I need to learn how to be spirit in human form. I moved to this place called Omega Institute in upstate New York, and I got obsessed with personal and spiritual development. For the next 10 years, that's all I did. I traveled around the world from ashram to guru to university to the healing modality, this to certification, of course, that for professional training, this, you name a healing therapeutic modality, and I probably got certified and went deep in it. I got to travel with, study with, support, assist enlightened masters. I was in a group once where Robert Downey Jr. said, I want to be like you, Daniel. And I admit, it's not my best testimonial, though maybe the most entertaining. I also appreciated when Sting said to me that his first impression was super positive because of the little crinkle lines that said I smile a lot by my eyes. Now, enough of that part. That's common stuff. I talk in more detail about that in other places. What this slide points to is that it wasn't all fun and games. There was a downside to that spiritual awakening, which was my encounter with the Western medical health system. I did literally get locked up in a psych ward. And part of why that was doubly challenging was because some years before that, my sister, Casey, had killed herself. She'd had some rough times with her own mental health and ended up jumping from a bridge. So when I moved to Omega, part of what was going on for me is that I wasn't too confident in myself. I still had a lot of fear about who I was and what I'd experienced. I didn't understand what had happened. I was literally living in a tent there. That was the work exchange as a work scholar. I was afraid that I wasn't going to get enough sleep. I was scared of being so many people around. Within a few days, I thought, oh, I'm in the wrong place. I don't know if I should be here. Maybe I need to get out of here. But then a divine intervention occurred, which was within a week, somebody said to me, hey, Daniel, are you going to go to that breath workshop? And I'm like, I don't know anything about this therapy world, new age spirituality, none of it. But the way they said it, it was so convincing. So I went, go to this workshop. And about 40, 50 people in the workshop, a brilliant woman presenting about it. She teaches us the whole thing. And then we start doing this breathing. And I'll show you how to do that in a few minutes. We start doing this breathing, and y'all, immediately around me, people start having these incredible experiences, or so it seemed. They were laughing and screaming and crying, and me, nothing is happening. And I'm a good student. I'm deliberately doing what she says. 15 minutes go by and nothing is happening. Then something very cool happened. And I bet you've had an experience like this. It was a moment where I had a limiting belief that showed itself to me. It flashed across the inside of my skull. And it was so obvious that limiting belief was, see if you can relate to this, was this is going to work for everyone else but me. Have you ever had a thought like that? Well, it was such a stupid, ridiculous limiting belief that, very lucky for me, as soon as I saw it, boom, it dissolved. Then immediately my experience kicked off, and it was like I was on a luge. Things started happening really fast. So suddenly my physical body was on the ground in this classroom in upstate New York. And at the same time, I was in my sister's body as she stood on the bridge, ready to jump to end her life. Now, mind you, I had never heard of anything like this. I'd never heard of astral travel. I didn't know anything about other dimensions, any of this stuff. I just knew immediately that's what was going on. And I wanted to stop her, but I also was aware immediately that I had no influence. So there I am, there we are on the bridge. Literally, she's like holding on to the railing behind her, the chain link fence, leaning out over the bridge. And I'm freaking out, y'all. I'm on the ground and I'm sweating and I'm breathing and my heart is pounding. And then she jumps. We jump. And as soon as that happens, like we're falling to, I can see the water coming up, feel the wind. And now I'm really freaking out. You know, the sweat's pouring off me. My back is arched up like this. And as soon as we're about to hit the water, back up on the bridge. Thus began this like nightmarish Groundhog Day experience. And as soon as I realized, oh no, we're back on the bridge, then we fall again. And this cycle's going, and I feel completely powerless to stop it. Like, oh my goodness. Then another magic moment. The woman who was leading the group, she came over to me and she took her hand and she just put it on my chest. And she said, I'm coming in to a new way of understanding. That was it. I'm coming into a new way of understanding. And that seems, well, I don't know how it seems to you. That probably seems small. And it was really small in a way. However, what happened in that moment, and I see there's a raised hand, just hold on because I will answer questions in a little bit. Feel free to write down any questions. Part of what happened is I suddenly realized that on the one hand, I love my sister. I miss my sister. On the other hand, there's all this pain at her suicide and guilt, right? What I should have done. And I had mixed those two things together. So what I had unconsciously concluded is in order to love her, I have to hold on to this pain and guilt. And suddenly the new way of understanding was those got separated. And in that moment, it was like the spell was broken. The cycle was broken. I was back in my body and I experienced this new freedom and love like I had never known. It was a profound healing. And it's what Abraham Maslow calls a peak experience. And part of why that was so important and powerful for me is I'd had peak experiences before. However, they had always come either through some kind of substance or just randomly. And what that meant was I didn't know how to count on them. What I experienced then was, holy moly, breath. Just that breathing in a deliberate way can create this kind of experience. So that was when I got hooked. I got obsessed. I want more of this. I went and did a deep dive professional training, assisted my teacher, traveled around the world. And now for 28 years, I have been working with people on this, literally tens of thousands of people I have shared with. So again, none of this matters unless you have a commitment to apply this in your life. So if you didn't make the commitment a moment ago, here's another opportunity. Will you commit to taking this information and applying at least one thing to improve the quality of your life? All right. So next part of this mastery session, sharing with you 3 main things about breath that will change the way you view breath, change the way you breathe, and change your life. Number 1, why breath matters, right? On the physical level, this is shocking. See if you can hang with me here. I'm going to give you some radical, crazy, kooky information. See if you can hang with me here. Very complex. Two options. Not breathing, dead. Breathing, alive. You with me? Okay. All right. Silliness aside, that's it, right? That's how we measure life. Not breathing dead, breathing alive. So doesn't it just make sense if you go to the next step here? We'll brush aside the not breathing part because y'all here are obviously alive. If we say breathing is life, it is, then if we are breathing a little, we're a little alive. If we're breathing a lot, we're a lot alive. Or poor quality breath, low quality life. Or unconscious breathing or conscious breathing changes our life. Doesn't it make sense that the quality of your breath has something to do, just put it very gently, with the quality of your life? Of course it does. Yet again, we always have the choice. We could ignore it for our whole life, or we could take conscious control of it at any point. Literally, and if we go back to what Donna Farhi said early on in our discussion here, so many aspects of what breath influences and controls in the body, it's literally how we get energy, the primary way that we detox, and it's the primary mechanism for why we have disease or the lack of disease. No disease can thrive in a highly oxygenated environment. Super powerful. Tons of research on the physical side of it. So we will go forward. Before I do that, though, I'll pause for a moment. Do you have any questions about the physical aspect of breath? We'll get to the emotional and the technique in a minute. Let's see those if there's anything I haven't got to that's important for you right now. And any questions? Again, you can put them in the chat now. We'll come back later, or you can just write them down. So, all right, let's go on. I want to make sure I give you the most value in our time today. On to the second big part of this, the emotional, which I say it's the juice, because emotion is the primary way that we qualify our lives, that we measure our lives, right? The way we could put it is somebody says, hey, Karali, hey, Reginald, how are you? Right? And you're going to have a different response this moment, today, tomorrow. Though if you add up all of those moments, awesome, Reginald's great. If you add up all of those moments, that's the quality of your life. Breathing has so much to do with your emotions, your emotional life, and the quality of your life. One of my favorite teachers, authors, a guy by the name of, wow, did his name really just escape me? Dr. Paul Ekman, who did this amazing research on facial expressions, clearly demonstrated that certain facial expressions are universal. In Borneo, in Australia, in Hawaii, sadness looks like sadness everywhere. And what he also showed, which is very cool, is that what we are feeling on the inside will be manifest, shown on the face. Even if we're good at hiding it, it will show for how long, right? It'll show on the face for at least a micro expression, a tiny flash. And that's cool because it also points to a reverse phenomena, which is if the face shows what we're feeling, it's also true that we can change the face and it will change what we are feeling. For us, that's even better news because the breath is also related to the feeling. You know this already. When you are feeling anxious or afraid, how do you breathe? When you are feeling excited, whatever the excitement is there a breath pattern that relates? Right? When you are inspired, do you breathe a certain way? When you're angry, is there a certain way? Of course there is. You don't have to think about it. It happens automatically. But check it out. How many of you have ever heard, hey, take a breath before you send that email, right? How does the expression go? Take a breath before you send it. Take 10 breaths. If you're really angry, take 100 breaths before you send it. Right? So what that points to is none of us are, especially from this moment forward, victims to the way we feel, because we've got the most advanced technology ever for changing how we feel by changing how we breathe. Right? Now, next level, let's go a little deeper with this. This is so cool, y'all. Thank you for being here. I love that you're interested in this, that you're motivated enough to learn about your breath. It's so important. I don't know how it was for you, but for me, first grade, second grade, third grade, there was nothing about the breath. This is like the most advanced adult learning. It's the greatest cross training. So thank you so much for being here and investing in yourself in this way. So as we go to the next level here, how many of you have had the experience of holding a beach ball underwater? Right? Everybody can relate to that in some way. And how long can you hold the beach ball underwater? Right? Well, a pretty long time, right? If you stay there with it, you can hold it forever. No, right? Because sooner or later, the beach ball will come. Why am I speaking about the beach ball in the emotions section? Because you and I, everybody, learned an ingenious survival mechanism when we were young. It's called, in the emotional world, pushing it down, or more technically, repression and suppression. And what it means, and we'll just cover it on the surface. And all of this, y'all, by the way, I'm going to give you the best I can here in this time. We're going to dig down 2, 3, 4 feet into some really big subjects. We could go 100 feet down, and maybe we will talk more about it. Maybe you will go deeper in your research. What that means for us, repression and suppression, essentially, it's anything that we didn't feel, consciously or unconsciously, in order to feel safe or feel good. So as a little kid, we didn't necessarily have the emotional resources to process some big feelings. So when something big came up, like fear, for instance, worry, well, I don't know what to do with it, push it down, I don't want to feel that. Great for survival, not great for thriving, because just like the beach ball, when we hold it under, sooner or later, it's going to come up to the surface. And with emotions that we don't feel, we push down, not only is it going to come up sooner or later, it is affecting us, but only always. It's affecting us all the time because it takes energy to hold it down. It also limits what else we can experience and feel. So emotions that we repress and suppress have to come to the surface. Our higher self, our psyche, our spirit will give us opportunities over and over. Like, here's a new situation, here's a similar situation, here's a similar person. Would you like to feel that now? And we can say, yes, I would, but most often we don't. Human beings, we can be very stubborn. We can choose to ignore, deny, hold it back, sometimes for decades. And if we really are resistant, I don't want it, what will the body do, the psyche do to get our attention? Whatever it needs to, right? Sooner or later, dis-ease, right? Or accident, something big, trauma, right? Drama, pain, to get our attention. And then most of us at some point finally say, okay, I get it. I'll change, I'll open up, I'll let the feeling come up. And then we do. And what happens? I feel so much better. Really, really, really good news. I know that could be a little bit challenging or scary. When I talk about this in longer workshops, sometimes people start adding it up and they go, oh, that means that if I do this kind of conscious breathing, that thing that I didn't feel, which I didn't want to feel, is going to come to the surface and I have to feel it. No, I'm not sure about that. Well, great, great news. 1, it's affecting us anyway, right? 2, through breath, and y'all, now in 28 years of being obsessed with personal spiritual development, healing, spiritual technologies, breath is still the single most powerful healing modality I have encountered. And I've been obsessed with this world as a student, as a teacher, as a practitioner of healing modalities and spiritual teaching. Great news for us in this regard is a term from physics that applies here. The term is entrainment. And entrainment works like this. Something basic, everybody knows this at this point. All of existence operates on a frequency, right? There is a frequency or a vibration to all of life. Every thought, every action, everybody, we have a certain vibration for our health, for our happiness, for our wealth, right? And it tends to be the same. Entrainment is a law that says any two bodies, energetics, that are in proximity, in relationship, will align to the same vibration. They will entrain, right? So a guitar string plucked will cause another guitar string to vibrate also. An opera singer hits just the right pitch, and it will do what? Shatter a crystal. Women living together in a dormitory will tend to align to the same menstrual cycle, right? This is entrainment. And why that's relevant for us with breathing is because you can breathe in a certain way that will raise your frequency, your vibration really quickly, really powerfully. That's what was going on for me when I had that peak experience those years ago. And when that happens, when we create this high frequency, what happens to the dense, low, suppressed vibrations, the negative emotions, right? Entrainment means they get pulled up, they come up to the surface, and we release them. And here's the miracle. It can happen like that in the space of a breath. We don't have to be re-traumatized. We don't even have to know what it is. We just have to breathe and be willing to let it go. It's so incredibly powerful. And where this goes, y'all, is phenomenal, right? And this is part of why I love breath. It's a different therapeutic model. What this woman is modeling for me is a new level of emotional freedom. Because as we practice breathing, we start to become aware that we don't have to repress and suppress, right? We have all the clarity, strength, resources now to allow any emotion, right? There was a time when it might have been too much to feel, say our parents were arguing, or there was this traumatic situation. It was too much to feel. We need to just get on with survival. But now, part of what we're learning and knowing is that we can experience life in the moment. We can feel any emotion, just like, who's the master of this? Little kids, right? Little kids, they don't get something. It's a firestorm. It's this big drama because they allow the emotions so fully. And then what happens the next moment? It's gone, right? So we don't have to do what we learn to do, which is hold things down and not feel them. What we're learning, and the breath is the most powerful teacher for this, is we can feel everything and allow it to flow in our lives. Quick example. So powerful, this experience for me. Shortly after I did this intensive breath training years ago, right? In fact, I'll stop our screen share for a moment to tell you this. So I did this intensive training over several months. I literally did hundreds of hour-long breath sessions. I'd facilitated many other people. I'd really rewired my breathing. And it was a big thing because, like I said, I was asthmatic before, and I had a lot of issues. So I did all this breathing. It doesn't mean I don't have any issues now, by the way. I'm still growing like all of us. Anyway, I had loved my first season at Omega. I was like a kid in a candy store. It was such an amazing place. I thrived there. So I set up my whole life to be that I could continue there. It was a seasonal place. 6 months at a time. So I was in the off season. I was traveling, visiting a friend in Colorado. And this was the era before cell phones. I had a answering service. My friend was out. This was maybe December. I call into my answering service and I have a message from the HR director at Omega. And he says, I'm really sorry. Some, bad news is we're not going to be able to hire you back for the next season. I was crushed. It was so important to me. I'd oriented my whole life toward it. I'd felt better than I ever had in my whole life there. Everything was planned on that. And, I just heard the message and let the news sink in, and I hung up the phone. And this was a phenomenal moment because I could feel the old pattern happening. The old pattern was, I don't like this. I don't want to feel this. So I was restricting and limiting my breath. That's how we don't feel things. We breathe less. And because I'd done so much training, my awareness was there. I was like, ooh, okay, what if I do this differently? What if I apply what I've been teaching and learning? So I said, all right, let's do it. And so I said, I invite the feeling, and I increased my breathing as a way of inviting the feeling to fully come in. And y'all, it was like in the space of 2-3 breaths, I was literally on the floor. I remember my friend's house, gold shag carpet, which I had to clean later because I was crying so vigorously into her floor. It was like a momentary meltdown. And I say momentary, and that's part of the power of this, because like a little kid, I felt it so fully, overwhelmed me. And then 5-10 minutes later, the bulk of it had passed, right? And I remember because my friend came back later and she said to me, dude, how do you get fired from a job where you're not even getting paid, right? Because I was a volunteer there. Fair question. Well, it ended up being one of the most powerful learning experiences in my life, in fact. And I won't tell you all the details now, but it really changed not just my life. And I did eventually go back there on probation. That's another story. But it also taught me that I have the capacity to feel in the moment. Okay, so let's pause for a moment. We're going to go on in a second to the third part here. The emotional aspect and how breath is connected to emotion. Do you have any questions? If so, feel free to type them in the chat. Also, feel free to just jot them down and we can speak about that later in the question and response period. All right. So since there does not seem to be a pressing question on that, let's go forward and talk about the types of breath and the practices. I'm going to give you 5. And that's a little bit arbitrary. There's many ways you can look at it, many ways of breaking this up. I'm going to give you 5 that I believe in all my research are the most important and the best distinctions, and ones that you can grok today and apply in your life. Does that sound fantastic or amazing? Thank you. Okay. Definitely do not do what she's doing. However, best image I could find to represent the first kind of breath technique, which I call therapeutic breath. And this generally is any kind of therapeutic style breath that, and the reason I put this hyperventilation image here is because you could call this hyperventilation, maybe more accurately call it hyperoxygenization. Depends a little how you do it, but it's the kind of breathing, you may have done it, that you breathe faster, deeper, more. Many different styles. What I described earlier, my peak experience with my sister, that was this kind of breathing. It's the super highway. It's cathartic. Big experiences come from this, life-changing experiences. The Wim Hof style breathing is related to this. Stanislav Grof and holotropic breath work is related to this. So check it out. Let's do it really simply for a moment now. Y'all up for a little experience of this? So wherever you are, unless you are driving a car or operating heavy machinery, right, then you can do this with me. So feel free, please close your eyes for a moment and just start taking some deep breaths. And the way it goes is kind of like this. Focus on the inhale. In and out of the mouth for this exercise. In and out of the mouth. Big inhale, exhale. Big inhale, exhale. And in the duration of one breath cycle, 2/3 is the inhale. The exhale, which is 1/3, is just a letting go, just a release. Keep going with it. We're only going to do a little bit, like a minute's worth of this, maybe 30 of these breaths, not even. Keep going with it. And you may find that very quickly you start to get some sensations. It could be tingly. You could get some lightheadedness. You could get even a little numbness, hot or cold. Let's do 3 more. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Now inhale and hold the breath in. Keep it in just for a moment. Now exhale it all the way out. Keep your eyes closed if you can. Keep the breath out and just pause. Stay empty. And then when you're ready, breathe in, keep your eyes closed, and just for a moment, notice what you feel. Just that. Natural breathing now, whatever feels natural to you in this moment. Breathe, feel. And this is such a powerful, simple technique. And when you're ready, you can open the eyes, come back, and if you want to drop anything in the chat about what you're feeling, what you experienced. How many of you noticed some change? Let's just keep it simple. How many of you noticed a change in the way you feel? If so, put a yes in the chat box. Like, yes, I experienced something changed in just a moment of breathing. Right? If you can get your fingers to work, then you put a yes in the chat box. Uh-oh. Nobody felt anything? Uh-oh. Did we lose our audio, our video? Are y'all there? Uh-oh. I was joking, but I'm genuinely concerned. Okay, wait. Resistance at the start. Yeah, I've had that kind of resistance too. Man, oh man. All right, Reginald is here. Good. How many of you, anyone else, experience anything from doing this breathing? Again, y'all, this is such radical stuff because just by focusing on the breath for a little bit, you can literally change the way you feel. Change the way you feel. You change the way you perceive the world. You change your actions. You change your life. Right? So we could go deep dive on this number 1 therapeutic. We shall move on, though, to number 2. And our friend here, this is Senor Chill, Mr. Chill Out, and he represents for us. All right, some more people responding. Great. Patsy felt alert. Tom, tingly. Yeah, the tingly. And sometimes that tingly, and mind you, some of the sessions that I lead for people in therapeutic breath, transformational breath, we do this for an hour. And that tingling can turn to numbness, can turn to incredible, incredible life-changing experiences. Still, though, doing 3, 5, 10, 1 minute, 5 minutes of this can be really powerful. All right. So coming back, number 2 type of breath and practice, Senor Chill here, our cat friend, is representing a type of breathing that is calming, that is stimulating to the parasympathetic nervous system. Probably y'all know some things about this already. We all human beings in this day and age tend to live in what kind of energy? Right? We tend to live in beta brainwave, go, 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 lot of stimulation, get stuff done, survival, fight or flight tends to be a lot of people's existence, which is part of why we've got an epidemic of anxiety in the Western modern world. So this type of breathing has become very popular in the last while in places like mindfulness-based stress reduction, box breathing you've probably heard about. The Navy SEALs have come out and talked about how they use that. And really simply, what box breathing is, and it's a good way of demonstrating this style, this type of breathing, is where you breathe in for a certain count, You hold the breath for a certain count, you exhale for a certain count, and then you pause for a certain count before you inhale. And it's the same ratio. So it's an even count. It's like, say, 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold, right? And you just keep going, same ratio. And there are other variations on this. All of them are calming. And in very short order, we can take ourselves from fight or flight, anxiety, beta brainwave to chilled out, to relax. We can lower our blood pressure, our stress. We can calm down. Super, super useful and helpful. Number 3, style type of breathing is what I call the alpha hypnotic or alpha relaxation or alpha super learning. And the way that works is so ridiculously easy and simple. Yet again, we could forget about this and never pay attention to it. Are y'all up for another little experiment here? This one's even easier, right? Okay, so assuming you are, and assuming you're not driving, close your eyes. Imagine yourself in a peaceful place, a beautiful place, whatever comes to mind. And if you have trouble seeing a place in your mind's eye, just imagine that you're seeing a place. And it might be a spot in nature, it might be in your home, it might be someplace that you love. Doesn't really matter. Just go with the first one that comes to mind. See yourself there, and like you're laying down on the beach or in the meadow, whatever it is, really relaxed and chilled. And then just take a slow breath in and a slow breath out. And you can do a couple more of those. And y'all, like, it's taken me 1.5 minutes to explain it, though you can actually get this understanding and apply it in your life so that you automatically know your special place, your peaceful place. And so literally you can close your eyes, go to that place, and in the space of one breath, you can take yourself from beta brainwave to alpha brainwave, which is where creativity exists, relaxation, restoration, digestion, and super learning. So useful and so powerful. What's something you can do before a meeting, before a presentation, before studying, right? Or set an alarm on your phone, and once an hour, just close your eyes and literally in the space of 20 seconds, go from beta to alpha. So useful. However, only if you actually do it. So let me just check in. How many of you are feeling like, yeah, I could do this. It's within my grasp. It's not rocket surgery, this stuff, y'all. It's so powerful, yet so available to us if we commit to it and act on it. Now, 4th type, right? And we are cruising along. Y'all are doing so well, staying open and engaging with us. Again, I so love that you are here, that you're engaged with this information, that you're bettering your life. That's so cool. It says so much about who you are. Now, this dude, as attractive as he is the best representation I could find symbolically for the 4th type of breathing, which I call training, right? And this is based on the premise that, as we said, breath equals life. So if we get better at breathing, we get better at life. So the 2 major ways we do that here are breath hold, right? So pausing, holding the breath out. And the other is practicing breathing through our nose, especially when we're doing stuff where we are active, our pulse is going up, and we want to breathe through the mouth. So the first one, though, breath hold. And this is so powerful. So simple, though. Again, right? Here's the way it works. And you can do this right now, right? Again, as long as you're not driving, take a big breath in and then exhale it all the way out. Awesome. Take another big breath in, right? And then exhale it all the way out and stay empty. Don't breathe in. Just stay empty as long as you want or as long as you can here. What will happen? Sooner or later, there will be a voice from inside you that will say something like this. Hey, dodo, breathe. Hey, dummy, take a breath, because if you don't breathe, you're going to die. Well, that's true on a certain level. However, that voice kicks in before it's really true. That voice is what part of us, right? That voice is the survival part of us. We're made up of human animal, survival, and human spirit. So the survival voice kicks in and says, breathe, breathe, you're going to die. If, however, you hear that voice and you say, thank you, I appreciate your input, I know you're trying to keep me safe, and you just stay for another moment, you don't follow its direction, you stay for another moment, what will happen? Something magical. You don't die, right? And that voice will back off because they're like, oh, it wasn't true. And so you get a few more seconds, maybe a little bit more, and then the voice will come back and it will say it again. And and sooner or later, you're gonna be like, okay, I gotta take a breath, right? And probably you've gotten to that point at here now. What's so cool about this, though, y'all, is every time you do that, what you teach yourself is, I am more than this survival instinct. I'm bigger than that. I am also primarily human spirit, right? So you rise up bigger than just the fight or flight reactive part of yourself, and you become more the master of yourself. Super useful, super powerful. All right, cruising along. The fifth, the last one I'll share with you right now, and to me, this is the coup de grace, the most important of all of this, and that is the part of breathing where you consciously employ it as part of your morning ritual. And I'm guessing, I would bet that a lot of you here on this call right now already have some positive rituals that you do in your life every day. I call it self-creation, right? Something that I've worked with and evolved over these last 28 years, something I work with all of my high-end private life coaching clients on, is the self-creation process. Typical things included in that positive morning ritual experience: meditation, yoga, movement, gratitude, journaling. What else? Study might be part of it. We use something that I call the Vibrant Life Daily Declaration, which is self-creation through writing and through declarations. But here's the thing: whatever your morning practice is, awesome, super cool that you have one. And if you don't, get one going. I can help you with that. And whatever it is, breath is like the non-denominational wind accelerator, the particle accelerator to it. In other words, whatever you're doing, right, whether it's meditation, gratitude, journaling, movement, whatever it is, if you add breath to it, you're going to increase the frequency of it, increase the power of it, increase the effectiveness of it. Now, I don't know how it goes for you in your life. Me, I don't these days typically have like 2 to 4 hours in the morning for self-creation for my practices. So what I've done is I've evolved my breathing practice to be the most effective, the most bang for the buck, to get the most value in the shortest time. And so I've created something that's about 7 minutes long that combines all those other 4 techniques. And when I do it, powerful things happen. Right. And I will share more with you later on about how I put those all together. The main thing, though, for you is I just so implore you to make sure that conscious breathing is at least a little bit of your morning practice. All right. So we are coming to the conclusion of the main part of this mastery session. A couple key points, though, to reinforce and reiterate here, something you know already. In life, the way it works, a law of the universe, is you are either growing or dying, right? That's the way it is. You're either growing or you are dying. Now, take that a step further. We know that breath is the measure of life. It's the greatest tool for cross-training for improving life. So the same is true. Either you are growing your breathing capacity or it's on autopilot, meaning it's declining, right? So powerful what can happen here. Now, essentially, you've got two choices. I've got two choices. My two choices coming into this were I could share all of this with you, do my best to make it entertaining, useful, powerful, get you to commit to yourself best I can that you will apply this. And I'm sure that you have benefit and you will make strides in your life if you made that commitment to yourself, right? And I could leave it there. The other choice I had was I could offer you an opportunity where we could work together. I could take an active interest and some responsibility for your success to help you go further and get more out of this. Now, the choices for you, and I chose the second one, and I'm really excited about that. And I think you will be too when you see what I have for you, which is, by the way, easy to do, easy to employ, easy to access, and very affordable. Now, the choices for you are you can be a philosopher. Cool. Strictly speaking, or generally speaking, a philosopher thinks about, right, cogitates, maybe talks about things, whereas the initiate takes the information and does something with it. And y'all know this, the day and age we are in, it's not enough to know what to do. We have to do what we know. So however you do it, I hope you choose initiate over philosopher. Those are your choices. And here's what I've put together for you. Totally optional. And again, I think you're going to love this program. It's called the Breathe to Thrive program. And 21 days to a stress-free vitality, unstoppable energy, and a life-changing morning ritual based on the premise that if you master your breath, or more accurately speaking, keep moving into mastery, you will change your life. 21 days starts November 15th. And y'all, this is such the perfect time, because what happens, generally speaking, around December 6th, right after that, the world falls apart, it gets crazy busy, a lot of opportunities for decadence, a lot of opportunities for stress. So when would be a great time to increase your resilience, your ability to handle stress, breath being the most powerful way? And I don't know when I will offer this program again. So if you have any interest, this is the time. And here's how it works very simply. In these 21 days, you will learn and develop mastery in the vibrant life breath systems, the ones that I have honed that are most important. The daily dose, that's the 7-minute practice. That's where it all comes together. Breath holds in the Wim Hof style. The transformational breath methodology, that's the therapeutic style one that we spoke about. The alpha relaxation technique, which then you can be employing in your life multiple times a day. And then box breathing and some other more advanced ones that go with that for chilling out, for helping your parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the way it works is you will create breakthroughs by learning. So you own these, you will have them installed in your nervous system, in your awareness, in your toolbox. And the really cool thing about that is you have them forever, for the rest of your life. You keep getting the value of them for the rest of your life. Now, the way this process works, training, some videos, 3 to 15 minutes long, a few of those to really just teach you the core techniques and how you can apply them in your life. Obviously, you can take that in, learn that at your leisure when you want, when fits for you. Then, and maybe the biggest, most important part of this is the coaching calls with me. Those are one-on-one coaching in a group context, which means you get the best of both worlds. It means you get personalized attention to your questions, your challenges, so you can not just take in the information, you can actually apply it. And together we can figure out how to get the most out of it and work with any obstacles that come up for you. And the benefit of the group is you learn from others, you get the breakthroughs that others get, and you learn things that you didn't even know you needed to learn. Best of both worlds. And community support in the form of a private Facebook group where you can ask questions, help other people, share breakthroughs, ask me questions, and just generally have a good supportive time. Some peer support is essential for transformation. Now, the investment for this program, I believe it's invaluable to make advances in your breath. $2,000 to me would be super easy and generous for the value you get. Of course, you're not going to pay that. You know how this kind of thing works. I have reduced it in my best attempt to make it easy for you to $697 for the entire 21 days, all of what I've talked about so far. Or if it's easier for your cash flow, 3 payments of $267. Now, some bonuses if you are motivated, and I'm in a season in my life where I am expanding my bandwidth, more that I can do, more people I can serve. So I am excited to reward action taking. And so these bonuses, if you say yes to this by the end of today, by midnight tonight, Hawaii time, you get all 3 of these bonuses. Number 1 is free, and you can do 1, 2, 3, or 0 transformational breath sessions. In other words, in the course of these 21 days, I'm going to offer 3 different transformational breath sessions where you can actually do this deep dive therapeutic breathing. And honestly, one of those can change your life. That's exactly what I told you about that changed my life and that experience with my sister before. Second one is, in order to help you get even more, a one-on-one coaching call with me toward the beginning of the 21 days to help you orient and get the most out of it, where we can talk about your challenges and your goals. And I will give you lifetime access to the full training and information around how transformational and therapeutic breathing works, including the super fascinating part about why it is people tend to breathe below their capacity and how to change that. Now, again, I wanted to make it as easy and irresistible as possible because honestly, just straight up, I would love for you to get this experience, for you to make some awesome breakthroughs in your breathing that I know will make a massive difference in your life. So the guarantees I offer you are this. 1, you must get to the place of saying, Daniel, I got it. I am applying this in my life. I got this morning practice. I'm doing it. It's working. It's fantastic. So if at the end of the 21 days, you don't feel that yet, then I will continue to work with you until you say, got it. I'm using it. I'm rocking it. And the next part is if, again, to make it as easy as possible for you, if at the end of 7 days, you're like, yeah, whatever reason, I'm not into it. It's not working for me. No questions. You can get your money back. You can keep all the breaths you took in that time. All right. And of course, I'm excited. Breath has been so important to me. Part of you might be saying, yeah, I don't know if it'll work for me. And I'm not going to take the time to go into depth on these, but some of these, and you can look on the page I'll share with you, tons and tons and tons of people sharing their reports of how breath and working with me has changed their lives. So if you're all ready to go forward and you want to just jump right in, the URL, the website is breath.danielaaron.com/21. And again, rewarding fast action, rewarding commitment, a little bit extra to make it easy for you. If you are in the place where you can say, yes, I'm going for it in the next hour, right? And there's no risk to that. If you can do it in the next hour, I will add on for you an extra ticket to any of the transformational breath sessions, meaning you can bring a friend or family, and an extra one-to-one coaching session that we would do at the end of it to really help you integrate and apply everything in your life. So once again, let's just break it down. What you get here is you learn the entire transformational breath, vibrant living breath systems, right? All those techniques, you will be able to use them in your life for the rest of your life, right? We do that through video training, through live coaching, and through community support. It's not $2,000 for you. It is $697 or 3 payments of $267, right? These 3 bonuses, transformational breath, one-on-one coaching session, and the full breath curriculum, if you can decide by tonight, midnight. And I've got 2 guarantees to make it easy for you, as well as a little incentive to say, if you're ready to go in the next hour, boom, Bob's your uncle, you're in. Extra coaching session, as well as transformational breath extra ticket. And I get this question a lot. Well, it sounds good. I don't have the money. So some ways that you can create, manifest, find the money. Sometimes it's savings. Some of you, it might work to go to credit card. Some people invest in their lives by selling something like collectibles or memorabilia. Some will ask friends or family for a loan. Some will sell stock or other asset, right? The only guaranteed investment in life is an investment in yourself. And if all of those somehow don't work for you and you're like, yes, I want this, let's talk. I will finance it for you. We'll find a way to make it work. So again, the URL is breath.danielaaron.com. And I will type that in the chat box too, to make it easy if you're ready to roll. And then we will get on to some questions. All right, typing in, I go. Boom, there it is. Okay, so all that said, thank you all.